Health and Fitness with David Hollywood.
With DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports. dssports.ie.
Hello and welcome to this week's Health and Fitness. Coming up, Olivia Feehan, counsellor with Toos Midlands Counselling Service, joins us to talk about a special week on campus where they were shining a light on men's mental health. Former Athlone Town player Gordon Brett is on to tell you about the good work of the newly formed Irish Professional Footballers Benevolent Association. John Kelly's the new Irish handball team manager. He's with us to preview the forthcoming 4-wall World Championships taking place across the Midlands and Leinster. And Mullingar's Fergal Hingerty is breaking hiking records once again. This time, he's climbed all of the 28 highest peaks in Poland. You'll hear his stories this evening. We're turning our attention to the issue of mental health. A couple of weeks ago, it was Mental Health Matters Week, and Toos Athlone, Toos Midlands have been shining a spotlight specifically on men's mental health. To catch us up on what was going on the campus, I'm very glad to welcome to the programme Olivia Feehan, who is a counsellor therapist with Toos Midlands Counselling Service. Olivia, thanks very much for joining us on the programme this evening.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be speaking to you today, David.
We spend a lot of time talking about the importance of mental health, and sometimes it's important to actually tighten that focus and look at a particular demographic or a grouping of people. And in this instance, Toos was looking at men's mental health. So where did the initiative get born out of on this occasion?
Yes, so every year we run Mental Health Matters Week in the university. And this year when we were speaking about what to do for this year's Mental Health Matters Week, I remembered a film that I had seen last year, which was written and directed by one of our TUS students here, Amanda Keys, in which she showcased a film that focused on men's mental health. And the actors, everyone involved were students in the college. And it really struck me watching that film, the power and the simplicity of the message in the film. In it just really highlighted, in particular for men's mental health and the male student population, that there's not one way that people deal with mental health struggles or what we might perceive, how we might perceive one person that looks like they have mental health struggles. It really highlighted that everyone can struggle. So that was one aspect. And the other aspect of the film that really stayed with me was the power that everyone has to give people attention. Are we actually listening? That's the name of the film. Are you even listening? And the power of listening and giving people attention and presence, and how that can really make a massive impact in someone's day and their overall mental health experience, of course.
It's a really effective title for a film like that, isn't it? Because it cuts through to the precise question that we often let drift under the radar when we're in the company of others. We take the outward signals and signs that they want to tell us that they're fine and that type of thing. But actively listening, it's a thing that without kind of trying to do consciously, we can drift through days and weeks in the company of our friends and families and loved ones without maybe necessarily paying the attention that's required to be able to help them if indeed they do need help.
Absolutely. And I think as well, the reality of, most people live a very busy life. There's always the next thing to do, or, we have very busy schedules. And that was really captured in the film as well, is, someone's phone is ringing or they have to go to a lecture. There's always something next. There's something to do, somewhere to go. And them moments where someone might be just about to open up, or if we could check in with them again, or when we ask them how they are, that we actually look at them and give them our whole attention and presence. And it's not about, having deep, meaningful conversations all the time, but in the small moments in a day, when we do check in with people and ask them how they are, that we can be fully present in them moments. And they can be really small, but really significant, because I'm sure you've had experiences, of speaking to someone where they are distracted or they're not really paying attention, and how that feels. And in contrast to that, then when someone is giving you their full attention and presence, it's such a different experience, even though you might only be speaking to them for a couple of minutes overall.
That's really interesting because it's a fulfilling experience in comparison. You had a number of other speakers on the event's evening itself or the day itself. Talk us through some of the messages that the audience would have been hearing and from the kinds of people, along with yourself, that were speaking at the event.
Yeah, so Amanda hosted the event itself. And after the film, she had also organised to bring in two speakers, Oisin Mulligan of Mulligan's Fitness,
Mm.
and Porrick Casey, who is also a fitness instructor with Oisin and is a fitness instructor in TUS Midlands. And individually, then they also got up and spoke really honestly about their own mental health challenges and what has helped them and supported them, and also lots of psychoeducational tips and techniques in for the audience that were there as well. So they were both really impactful and just very that honesty of their lived experience, keeping it really real with lots of humor as well. And it was really insightful as well just to hear two male speakers speak that way, and owning their anxiety about standing on the stage and having to speak in front of people, like that doesn't go away, but how they have coped and how they manage it now, that they're not up there and they never have to deal with the anxiety. No, the anxiety is still there,
Mm.
but they have ways of coping and challenging it in a way that doesn't let them be overwhelmed by the experience. And we also then had a panel discussion after, which was chaired by Amanda, where myself, my manager, Tressa Fox, and Porrick and Oisin, where we answered questions from Amanda or people in the audience that were relevant to mental health and just ways in which people, like little tidbits that people could take away from the day.
Not to catch you on the hop here or anything, but what kind of
Mm-hmm.
questions came up on the evening that yourself or Trassa might have spoken to specifically?
Yeah, so one of the main questions was around active listening, and which really aligns, of course, with the name of the film, because I think a lot of the time we can think about, well, people need to open up, and which is true, people do need to open up in order for us to listen, but it's not all on the speaker or the person that is sharing. We need to meet them halfway, and how we are listening can really change the experience of the person who is speaking. So we spoke a little bit around active listening and what it really means to actively listen, what we're hearing for. And it's not just about the what we're actually listening with our ears, but of course the body language as well. Are we giving them our full presence, or are we checking the time? Are we checking our phone? How are we presenting to this person to let them know that I'm here to listen, and I'm giving you this space? So the listening was one of the key questions in how we can proactively listen, and how that can make a very significant impact for the person that we are listening to. And another one then was just what like a takeaway for everyone in the audience. So there were different answers to that. My one was around kindness for ourselves and to others. We can often be our own worst inner critic and and make our, I suppose, expectations of what we think we should do or how we should be, and also that kindness then, so for ourselves but for other people as well. And Trassa spoke on Together All, which is our mental health platform online here in the college, that's free to all students. That's a really great mental health resource for all students here in TUS.
Okay, very good. Tell me about Amanda for a second. I understand
Mm.
she's a fourth-year business and law student, so immediately I don't see media or film in her specific education title or course title. And she's gone and made this short film, Are You Even Listening?, about men's mental health. Did she talk about how all of that came about, And I think I'll just add on from a distance here. She sounds like a really fascinating, capable young person.
She is amazing to work with. So we really, it was myself and Amanda that collaborated on this initiative for Men's Mental Health Week. And you can definitely see the business and law in her organizational skills and just getting things done. And then she was the chairperson of the Drama Society last year, and she is very passionate about drama. And I know she holds a diploma in musical theatre and performing arts from Phoenix Performing Arts College also. And, she speaks really well on her passion for men's mental health, in particular with the male students here in the college. And by showcasing the diversity in the film, one of her goals was to bring men's mental health to the forefront of the conversation, encouraging not just discussion, but also the listening. And the listening part is really a key importance for her and the role that we can all play. She herself speaks on how we're all touched, or most people are touched by suicide or suicide ideation, and that we all can have an active role in supporting all of the men in our life, and how this film was her way of showcasing that. And I know she continues to do a lot of work around mental health.
Well, a huge congratulations to her and to everyone who's involved in the Men's Mental Health campaign at TUS over the course of Mental Health Matters Week. You've been great with your time, Olivia. I appreciate you taking our call here on Health and Fitness. Thanks again.
My pleasure. Thanks a million, David.
Next on Health and Fitness, we find out what's being done to help secure the welfare of our League of Ireland heroes of the past.
Health and fitness.
With DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports at 085 871 5311 or info@dssports.ie. DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Your success, our priority. Let's grow together.
Midlands 103.
I want you to think of your favourite League of Ireland player right now. And obviously, as we know well, the league is such that when these players move on from their footballing career, a lot of the time they go back into normal society, and a lot of them might drift out of our consciousness. But I think it's important to pause a moment and reflect on where it is players can end up in their lives, and what it is that we should or could do to help support them. To that end, I'm very glad to say that the Irish Professional Footballers Benevolent Association met for the first time, the Midlands branch in Athlone recently, and joining us on Health and Fitness this evening to talk about the meeting, the group, and I suppose the purpose of it all is a former Athlone Town player and a man very much still connected with the club through coaching, Gordon Brett. Gordon, thanks very much for joining us on the programme.
Thanks, David. It's just a great opportunity for us to kind of highlight the kind of benefits of this association and what it plans to do going forward for ex-professional footballers.
Yeah, like I said, so many of us will every Friday night go and see our favourite players, and then eventually they'll retire. We keep going to the same ground and watch new players, as it were. But these men, they go on and they live the rest of their lives, and naturally, as it is with human nature, and sometimes matters that shouldn't happen to them happen, and they need support. So tell us about the agenda and the purpose of the Irish Professional Footballers Benevolent Association.
Yeah, it's something that the genesis of it was probably from a previous kind of organisation that was around in kind of started in the 90s, I think, really, but it was, and that was set up really to look after former international players, but and the new iteration of this is going to really look at the domestic players who played professionally in Ireland. And as you mentioned, we all have our own heroes, right? Going back to, I remember, so my first conscious memories of League of Ireland are the early 80s at Lone winning leagues. Those players are all now hitting their 60s, some in their 70, getting close to 70. And as you mentioned, not everybody is lucky enough to be have sustained good health or good financial health as well. And the organisation, the IPFBA, is there to kind of enhance the lives of professional footballers, and foster that supportive community. And while it's primarily designed to look after the finances and health of the players, it'll also serve as a really good place for players to meet up, and stay connected to former players and connected to the game. And I think that's just as important as the financial kind of goals and support that the group aim to foster.
Yeah, 100%. Like that human connection, a lot of the time, if that disappears, your health will very soon follow. So there's still like a really important health aspect to the socialising aspect in a way. There was a great picture I've seen recently of you guys in the Bounty Bar in Athlone, really looking like you were all happy to be there. Talk to us about what the meeting was actually like, and what the atmosphere was like in the evening.
Yeah, Harry McHugh, who was chairman of the organisation, came down and gave a presentation of, what the aims and goals are, how the organisation will operate. He's also ably assisted by Martin Lawler as the secretary, and Mick Byrne is the treasurer. A lot of other ex-League of Ireland players involved. There's a wider group there. And Harry came down just to explain what the groups are doing. Like, there's a group in Dublin, there's a group based out of Galway. John Mannion and Jerry Daly both came up from Galway to kind of just give us a flavour of how they operate on the ground. There was a golf classic held in Limerick about 3 weeks ago, raised a lot of money for the association. There's a group in Waterford, Cork, Limerick, Dundalk. They're all very active. But really, I suppose our primary focus was just to get a group up and running. There's a core group has been set up from that meeting, and we are due to meet next week. That group will expand. I think Dennis Clark, Michael Sheehan and myself are going to be the Midland reps for now anyway. And we'll probably look at some fundraiser event in 2025 to help support the funds within the overall organisation. But there's good support also, David, from the FEI. Mark Scanlon, the director of the League of Ireland, he's pledged support. There will be some funding coming from the FEI Cup final towards the group. John Giles, Irish football legend, has donated 4 jerseys already that he would have worn back in his day. And there'll be a meet up at the FEI Cup final that'll be shared with the Professional Footballers Association of Ireland, who look after current players. So there's lots of activity, but as I said, the connection with the ex-players is going to be so important for many guys outside of the kind of financial element of this push.
Yeah, as we said, it's a big part of our lives that can't be neglected, even as we become older through our lives and that type of thing. Just to circle back to how things came together and where the advice and the knowledge came from. Chatting to you a couple of days ago, I'm right in saying the GPA had a bit of a role in kind of passing down the knowledge that they have developed over the years in terms of representing and supporting former players.
Absolutely, I think Tom Parsons has been very supportive of Harry and the National Committee in just putting them in the right direction, giving them a good steer on where to go, what to do, maybe what not to do as well. So they've been very helpful, and they're in operation a long number of years now at this stage. So I suppose the soccer element will try and mimic that and develop it. And like it's to get those level of people to support you and give you advice. For instance, Dr. Alan Byrne will be the medical consultant. People will know Alan has been involved with many an Irish senior squad down through the years. So he's going to be very important as the medical consultant. And, primarily the funds at the moment won't really reach too far, but I suppose they'll be used for respite funds to kind of help families that have ex-professional footballers in their family, and the family needs respite. That's probably as far as the funds might be going just right now, but Alan Byrne will decide on where that goes, how it goes. But yeah, the group, I suppose there's real energy there within the Midland group. You mentioned the photograph. We'd good crack in the Bounty Bar that night. There's a lot more guys who couldn't make it on the night who'll be involved, and I think it's gonna mushroom into a really, really vibrant organisation that will keep players connected. And it was very good fun on the night, I have to say. Apart from the serious business of kind of setting up the group, I think it's going to be a really good social group for ex-players also.
let me bring you back to maybe a more serious topic, and we can only speak probably anecdotally based on your personal experience in terms of who you've spoken to, what you've observed yourself. But I've seen it as a discourse around football in recent years that concussion and the effects of it through football have possibly started to manifest in conditions in older players when they go past a certain age. Is that an active consideration or concern with the IPFBA? And do they think, or do you think it could be something that the association could be active in helping those players if indeed that's something that gets to be more widespread?
Yeah, just speaking with Harry McHugh, the chairman, I think that's the primary focus right now on supporting players who do find them in that situation and suffering from dementia. Obviously, there's lots of research ongoing in the effects of heading footballs. But Harry did say like that is a primary focus right now, and those in particular suffering from dementia, it'll be a key consideration in supporting such players. But yeah, I think look at there's as I said, there's lots and lots of research been done in this area. But Harry was very very vocal on that particular area, David.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear because certainly for every football fan out there, I think it is a point of concern and one that we didn't really reconcile with when we were growing up or playing football when we were younger. There was never a narrative around it, but at least there is discussion about it. It's being highlighted and it's being thought through at the moment. So from your perspective, as one of the people now who are involved as one of the officers or reps in the Midlands, what's the next step immediately?
The core group, we intend to meet next week. We needed to just give a week or two to settle down. For our first meeting, over 70 former League of Ireland players from the Midlands were contacted. And there's players there going back to when Athlone were breaking into the league in the 60s, right up to the present day, the players who might be only retired a couple of years. There's a broad group there. A lot more of those guys will become involved. And from there, I think really it's to expand the group, get everybody fully registered with the association, and like the IPFBA will take memberships, and then that'll create a wider group. But our focus in the Midlands probably will be to decide on one key or maybe two fundraising events that will sort of boost the coffers of the group, and again there's a lot of work to be done around these things, but we're hoping to kind of really get maybe one good headline event next year in 2025 that'll maybe bring in some money for the group. There'll be another golf classic, and nationally I think there's other works there'll be a golf classic that was held in Limerick this year, will be in Galway, and as I mentioned, John Giles, there'll be an evening with John Giles at some stage, organised by the national group sometime in 2025, and in fairness to John Giles, he seems to be fully behind the efforts to kind of support ex-players. So he's got, and obviously he is a high profile in the game, and that in itself lends itself to more support for the IPFBA.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. Sounds like there's actually loads coming down the pipeline to help boost the profile and also the resources from this group. A final point then, if any former players have slipped through the cracks in terms of not being in the phone books that you guys are reaching out to, if they're listening this evening, they could contact yourself, Gordon, and reach out.
Absolutely. Yeah, also Dennis Clark, Park Nicholson, Michael Sheehan, Colin McDade and myself are the kind of core group just right now, but I said that will expand. But the likelihood is that some ex-players out there will know at least one of the five of us. So get in contact, and the more the merrier. It's really, really important that we get as many people involved as possible.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly look forward to catching up with you again on this story as developments unfold. But for now, Gordon, congratulations to all the lads involved in putting this together. The very best of luck with the efforts to raise funds and with the next meeting that you get, and in building this as things go on. A great initiative.
That's brilliant. Thanks for your time, David.
John Kelly's Ireland's new handball manager. He's with us next to look forward to the World Championships that are coming to the Midlands. The 2024 World Four-Wall Handball Championship is taking place in Ireland in the coming days, and it's not just taking place in one venue. It's going to be spread across a number of venues, including 2 spots in Laois and Cullehill and St Bridget's. As well as that, it's going to be in Carlow, Kilkenny, and lots of venues in Dublin. So there's loads to look forward to. I'm very glad to say that the Irish handball team manager, John Kelly, joins us to look forward to what is going to be a festival of handball across Leinster over the coming days. John, thanks very much for taking our call here on Health and Fitness this evening. I imagine from your perspective you're looking forward to everything getting underway.
Oh yes, we're all excited. Yeah, I'm definitely excited about it anyway, because to be appointed team manager there a couple of weeks ago really has me on edge, But yes, we're looking forward to one of the probably the biggest standalone events coming up now this week. Yeah, so really looking forward to it. Getting our training in as well for all the players, and trying to get everybody tugged out and making sure everybody is looked after. So really exciting stuff coming up for us, Dave. Yeah.
Fair bit of work involved. Before we maybe drill down into what you guys do in terms of preparation and training for something like a World Championships, let's just talk about the breadth and scale of this competition. There's going to be a huge amount of entries from all over the world.
Oh yeah. Look, in all there now so far, there's about 1,675 entries. That's a record for a standalone four-wall tournament, and the grading is ranging from under 11s to over 75s. So it goes to show you. And then the under 11s events is over 165 boys and girls have entered that event. So that's going to be a big day for them in Croke Park as well. 1,900 matches will be played over the course of the tournament. So really, there's a lot to be done and a lot to be played. Yes, absolutely, Dave. Yep.
And the fact that it's spread across a region such as it is, there's a chance for everyone to maybe get down and get involved and cheer on the sport, generally speaking, if they're listening this evening. It's fantastic spectator sport, and really exciting contests are going to be taking place across the 4 counties of Dublin, Laois, Kilkenny and Carlow.
Yes, it's going to be very competitive. We have 20 international players, I think, coming over for the open grade. You have Team USA, Team Mexico, Team Canada, and that's not including the Irish stars currently residing overseas. Like you have Mulcairns and Kelly and Carroll from Cork originally, and Mulcairn from Galway, but they're all over there playing, and they're coming over, and they're going to have a big say in this tournament as well. So the competition is really heating up now at the minute, because there's going to be a lot of people in there that can win this, and it's going to be very competitive over the next couple of weeks, definitely.
John, let's talk about your team, also known as our team. How is Team Ireland in terms of preparation for this World Championships?
Yes, over the last three weeks there now, all players on Team Ireland, 6 female, 5 males, and they've been training hard and getting lots of training in. They're training nearly every second day and weekends as well. So they're they're not overdoing it, but they're just, we say, going through the motions and getting a couple of challenge matches and all that sort of thing arranged. So they're using the time now available all the way up now to probably about Thursday will be the last games, and then it'll be getting into work then the weekend when it starts on the 26th.
And what about prospects of success in terms of competition from an Irish perspective?
Well, I think now we have a very good chance. Of course we have, we in the men's open singles there now we've Robbie McCarthy, and he's one of the best handballers in the country at the minute. And and the ladies we have ladies doubles there now. We have Sienna Curran and we have Niamh Heffernan, and they're all Ireland champions at the minute. So they will be probably favourites to go well and maybe go on and win it. Hopefully they do. And then we have the under-19s, which is Kyle Jordan, and he's a very, very talented chap. I think he won All in as well this year as well. And in the female section under-19 with Jodie Keelan from Wexford, and she's a tab hand, and she'll have something to say as well. You know, I'm hoping the under-15s and the under-17s boys and girls will do very well as well. So we're looking forward to it. Yeah, we're up for it. All players are up for it, and they're training well.
I'm just looking at a profile here for Kyle Jordan, the 19-year-old, and he's said in his profile on Facebook here, people can check it out on the 2024 World Handball Championships page, that he says handball was played by a lot of his family and that's how he got involved. That is typically one of the main traditions of people getting involved in handball. Is it really is handed down through the family.
Yes, that's the way it is. Like a lot of GAA clubs around the country now have taken handball on board and put up these 40 by 24 wall courts, and a lot of families come down and they watch, and then they get involved, and then the parents get involved, and then it's the parents that to bring them to and forward to venues and that. So it really is a family sport, all right. There's no doubt about it, because if one of the family takes it up, then probably the next son or daughter takes it up, and they all get involved. And it really is a great sport then to be sitting at the back of the alley watching your family in there playing and representing your club or your county. So there's plenty of competitions and plenty of things to be won, and this is what drives all the young kids, I think. And it's great to see it. Absolutely.
No better sport for getting you fit as well. So if there's anyone listening this evening who is thinking about getting back involved in a club or building some regular exercise into their lives because for whatever reason they need to or they want to, then handball, is it something that you'd recommend for the novice who is looking to get fit?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Handball, without doubt. And now I usually do a little bit of coaching myself as well, and I'm always talking to parents and probably some teachers as well when we go to some schools and we say handball demonstrations. The benefits, the fitness benefits, unbelievable. The fitness, you're using both hands, which means you're using both sides of your body, and that, and it's great for keeping you fit, and it's great for as they say, if you're using both hands, you're using both sides of the brains, which is great for your education as well. So the fitness benefits is great. You go into an alley for an hour and watch 2 to 4 people playing singles or doubles, and when they come out, the sweat and that, but it's definitely worth it, because you have to see it to believe it, and to see the quality of and the standard is unbelievable, and the standard of the girls handball in the last couple of years has come on immensely. There's girls now that are able to beat the boys, as I say, no problem now, and there was a time they struggled, but absolutely fitness-wise, there's no better sport, and a great conditioner for winter. If you're a Gaelic player or a hurling player that can't get out during the winter to play your games, or when there's the dormant season, come in, play handball, because it'll keep you fit and keep you right then for when the championship starts. Then maybe the following year, So absolutely, fitness is the benefit there.
Tell us, John, you're obviously someone who's putting a lot of your own time into this sport. What is it that motivates you to help the future generations of handball players in the country?
Yeah, well, when I was growing up, we had these old outdoor handball courts. Well, one here in Drogheda, it's a kind of a ruined alley, but when we were young lads, we were 5, 6, 7 years of age, there was no playgrounds or at that time, so you'd be all down on this old court playing handball. There'd be 10, 15 blokes maybe, and then as the day went on, then you could have 30 people in, and you'd be playing handball for morning, noon and night. And you wouldn't go home for your dinner. You were that engrossed in playing, because if you left the court, you wouldn't get your position back. So if you were winning the games, you stayed on, and you'd forget about dinner or anything like that. But you played morning, noon, and night, and absolutely, it was brilliant. And lads, boys below in the court at that time, Definitely, there'll be no love lost. They'll be wanting to win, and it's a great sport to play, and it's a great sport to watch. And people would always ask you, stop you in the street, and just say, "Oh, you're still playing handball, John?" Yeah, play it. So I'm in my late 60s now, so, and I'm still playing away, which is great. So absolutely, yes. I'd recommend it to anybody to play handball. Take it up. It's a fantastic game. I've been playing it since I was about 7 or 8 years of age, and I'm still playing, which is great. So a great conditioner.
Yeah, and anyone who wants to get a taste of it can sample some of the highest level of handball all across the Midlands and in Leinster over the course of the next week and a half. It's on in Crinkle, in Offaly, in Laois it's Cullohill, and St Bridget's in Monivea, in Kilkenny. Loads of venues there: Lisdowney, Galmoy, Clough, Kilfane, Windgap, Callan, Kells, O'Loughlin's, Wexford. There's a couple of venues, and of course the National Handball Centre in Croke Park, as well as a couple of places in Carlow as well. You can check out GA Handball on Facebook and online for the details. John Kelly, team manager for Ireland, you've been great with your time. Thanks for joining us on the programme this evening.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Thanks very much for having me on. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Koroni Gorpolski. That's the Polish crown you earn for climbing the 28 highest peaks in the country. You'll meet the Mullingar man who's done it next.
Health and fitness.
With DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports at 085 871 5311 or info@dsports.ie. DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Your success, our priority. Let's grow together.
Midlands 103.
Regular listeners to Midlands 103 and Health and Fitness may be familiar with the name of Fergal Hingerty, the Mullingar man who has conquered Europe's highest mountain. He's taken on all of the biggest peaks in Ireland. He's done the same in Wales. I'm very glad to say of late he's managed to head over to Poland and take on the same as well. KGP, Korni Gorpolski, I think is generally the colloquial name for this challenge. Fergal joins us on Health and Fitness this evening for a chat about his latest escapade. Fergal, tell us, what's your reflections on climbing in Poland? It sounds like it was yet another sort of gargantuan task, but I'm sure massively stimulating along the way.
Yeah, it was. The how would I say, the biggest problem there was logistics, getting from one peak to another. Also, the problem would be the weather conditions on the day. Fortunately, that worked out okay,
Okay, good stuff. Tell us about, if people aren't familiar with the Polish landscape and geography, what these 28 mountain ranges are like. Are they comparable to what we have in Ireland, or there's a good few, I think, that are probably a good bit bigger than the biggest we have?
Yeah, there's over half of them to be larger than Carrauntoohil. In fact, from what I can gather, or from reading the statistics, there is over 3,000 feet. I think the vast majority of them would be. I don't have the figures to hand here, but it's around 20 to 28 or over 900 meters. They wouldn't have the unique Irish landscape of wind, rain, and bog. So that makes it somewhat easier in some respects. But then you would, because you're at a much higher level, you would have weather conditions could change very drastically, and you have to be prepared for everything, obviously,
What about the gradient that you're dealing with? Are these long, gradual, or sort of steep climbs that you're taking on?
Well, the highest one I redid recently with some people from the Slovak side, Risi, which is 2,499 meters, and that took 10 hours. So they would be steep grade. There is generally tracks on them, but there's nothing simple about them. To climb any of these mountains is a big undertaking in any situation whatsoever.
What do you do?
As I'm sure your listeners understand.
Yeah. Tell us about what you do to prepare for these individual climbs on their own merits. Presumably, you have a look at what's in front of you a day or two beforehand in terms of how you're going to approach it, what you're going to bring with you, the time that you're going to set off, any of this stuff. Talk us through what the thinking and your kind of template is.
Well, the logistics would be that the actual the maps over in Poland and Slovakia would generally have the length of time to go up to a mountain. So I would usually stick an hour onto that. I would check the weather forecast with Wire.no and some of the other websites. I would have a large rucksack in my back. I don't particularly like the alpine style. I prefer to have everything in the case of emergency, because you wouldn't know how long you could be lying there if you had an unfortunate incident. And then you would just time it accordingly. I mean, usually you would have 1 kilometer an hour if it was very steep gradient, 2 kilometers an hour if it was somewhat okay, and you wouldn't really get 3 or 4 kilometers an hour unless there was a number of flat bits, you know. So you time the walk according to that, and that would also depend on the water you're bringing. Now, on some of these mountains that have water in the way, and you can use a water filter. But all of these things have to be taken into account, and you learn as you go along. And by the time I got to do the Polish mountains after a number of years of doing it, then I would be fairly quite good at planning at this stage. But I would certainly need an evening sitting down and planning it properly.
Yeah. You mentioned the weather conditions. In Poland, they are prone to getting more extreme conditions, be it through the heat, the sun, or the snow, the rain, anything, than they were used to in a milder climate in Ireland. Did you come across any extreme weather climbs yourself while you were taking on these peaks?
I did Snieska, which is also the highest peak in the Czech Republic. The day we did it, there was strong wind and snow. It was minus 28. So fortunately, the people that climbed it that day all were experienced mountaineers. Some of them have done the 5,000-meter mountains with me. And we all had the 3 stages of gloves, which would be your inner glove, your outer glove, and then a mitt, proper thermal base layer, which would be the merino wool base layer, and a couple of layers on top, snow glasses, of course, because the sun bouncing off the snow on occasions, and obviously warm hat and so on. They are basics that people should have in any mountain in the bag in the winter, but certainly in Poland is essential, you know.
What about when you're in the merino base layers and you've got the layers on top of that, and the 3 layers of gloves? The idea obviously is to make sure that you're nowhere near dangerously cold and your circulation stays where it needs to. Do you ever get uncomfortably warm in that instance, or are you always on the line of being a bit too cold when you've got minus 28, for instance?
Well, the mitt and the outer glove wouldn't necessarily go on very much because it limits your movement in the hand. So that would only go on if it's particularly cold. Regarding the merino wool and so on, a lot of the more sophisticated mountain equipment would have zips underneath the arms and so on, and at the knees. So if it's particularly cold, that can reduce some of the heat. You can open those zips, which makes it manageable, for want of a better word. But I have been in a sleeping bag which went down to minus 20 on a mountain once, and I had to open it at minus 10 in the night time because it was too warm, you know. Certainly
better to have that problem than the opposite, I suppose.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Better to be too hot than to be too cold, you know.
The amount of variety you would have come across, I presume you've a few personal highlights in the experience of taking on all these peaks.
Well, certainly Snieska in the snow was a fantastic experience. We had one of our group had a difficulty with the crampon going up the last part of the mountain, so to help her with the crampon at minus 28 was certainly an interesting experience, I can tell you. My fingers are still here though, thankfully.
My God. And like companionship and trusting your climbing colleagues, this type of stuff is very important when you are spending so much time with them on these climbs.
Well, I think there's 2 requisites really. You can perhaps climb with somebody who's 1 level below you or 1 level above you, because you can push yourself a little bit harder for a level above, and you can slow down a level below. But you couldn't go with somebody who was unfit or unprepared. And that's the other thing as well. Not only that your own equipment is okay, you'd have to scan other people that their equipment is okay. I mean, I would go up the mountains with various people, and occasionally they bring friends. And if somebody turned up with runners, I just say, sorry, forget it. I'm not going, you know. Under no circumstances would I bring somebody up the mountain who had runners on, you know.
No, and naturally, when you have the experience that you do, you know what's required to even accept it as a starting point. Tell us, you know, you came from a background of pretty bad physical injury in the past.
Yeah.
How are you these days when you're taking on all of these climbs? Is it something that's simply a distant memory, or would you experience flare-ups and moments?
There wouldn't really be a flare-up of moments. Occasionally, I get a small twinge. I usually stretch. One of the good things about climbing mountains would be that very similar to well, rowing would be the supposed to be the best exercise for the body and moving all the different muscles. But mountain climbing would be a very close second because no matter how smooth a track may be, you're still going to be twisting more or less your entire body at different stages, going up and going down. And as a result, that everything gets stretched out, you know.
Yeah, I can certainly attest to feeling the benefits of climbing myself. It's one of those things that I think a lot of people find invigorating as much as they do taxing. What about when you got to the final peak of this particular achievement and journey? What goes through your mind when you're climbing that last one where you know you're going to tick off a momentous achievement off the list?
Two things. One, the first one would be, what's the next challenge?
Of course.
The second thing is, yes, finally I've done it, like most people, you know.
Yeah.
Small two hands in the air, a small little jump, a roar of appreciation at the end, which would surprise the people around me. But then that's fair enough. That's understandable, you know.
Yeah, well, look, if we can't celebrate those moments, then there aren't too many opportunities in life to express that kind of joy. Tell us then, Fergal, what is next? What have you got on your agenda for the future?
Well, I've been invited to a number of places next year. I have to decide which ones to go and what the schedule is. There are vague plans at the moment, and I have to see what the particular trips entail. What I'm looking at really next year is probably Mongolia, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, or perhaps a bit more of the crown of Europe, which I'm chasing at the moment, you know.
Well, you've conquered the crown of the Polish mountains, Korni Gorpolski. Am I butchering that, or is that how you've heard it said? I actually haven't.
Well, I've heard it said, but I'll butcher it in a different way.
Yeah.
I'm sure Polish people will attest to that. Koroni Gorpolski, from what I can say, but I'm sure there's a few Polish people who are listening who are having a little wry smile at the moment, the two of us.
Yeah, and we can only apologise and congratulate you for the latest achievement, Fergal. You've been great with your time as ever. Okay. Congratulations, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
We're done for another week. Thanks for taking the time to be with me. Joe Cooney is next with Country Roads, and I'll talk to you soon.